This week on Prairie Pursuit, we're in southern Saskatchewan, chasing prairie land moose. Stay tuned for all the action.
Bushnell's Prairie Pursuit is brought to you by Bushnell Canada, Hornady, Black Rock Automation, JB's Sausage Maker Supplies, Ultimate ATV and Off-Road Training, OK Tire Park Street Regina, Trail Runners Canine Training Center and Labradors, Butcher's Best, Capital Auto Mall, Customize, North Pro Sports, Rev Energy Services, and these fine sponsors.
So every May is the time when hunters in Saskatchewan all meet and decide their plans for the following season. That's when our draws have to be in for that year.
Morning, Paul. How are you? How are you? Good. Good. Could use a few more hours of rest, but I'll be all right.
So last spring I got a call from Paul Benson saying, Mike, I've never shot a moose. I want to shoot a moose. Where can I go?
How you doing, Paul?
I'm good. You?
Good. Where are we going?
Hunting.
What are we hunting for?
For moose. See what we can find.
Is this your first moose?
First one, yeah.
Do we have any standards this morning?
As long as it's got big antlers, we'll be all right.
All right, let's get her done.
Okay.
I know an area within about 2 hours of Regina where moose are very, very plentiful. There's a lot of animals, some big ones around. So I suggested that he put in for that area. We did a little bit of pre-scouting before the season started, and we were seeing some nice moose, lots of bulls, lots of little bulls. No monsters to start the season. And this season is the first 2 weeks of October, so kind of just catching the tail end of the rut, and then a late season in November. So Paul and I worked hard in that first season. We saw a lot of bulls.
Oh, he's grunting over there. I can see him grunting. So I wonder if we go the other side of the road. Yeah, I can see him grunting.
The downfall was in Saskatchewan, this was a pretty tough year for a lot of the farmers. We had a lot of rain. Farmers couldn't get their crop off. So for us, going to look for moose, we were seeing a lot of moose, but we were seeing them in fields with a lot of standing crop. We really saw them zeroing in on canola. Pretty much every canola, every moose that we saw was in relation to a standing canola field. We saw some moose in the 40-inch class, spikers, 30-inch bulls, lots of cows and calves, but nothing that we really had a great opportunity to shoot at. Again, we were seeing moose every day. I know Paul, that was his first time. He didn't want a spiker bull. He didn't want a cow. He wanted to take his time and see if we can get a decent moose.
See a shooter? All right, I'm with my good buddy Paul Benson. We're out chasing moose. Paul was lucky enough to get a draw either sex moose tag out here in the Capel Valley, Zone 36, out in Saskatchewan. It's day one. It's at lunchtime. we've seen a few moose this morning. We've seen, 3 bulls. One decent bull we kind of maybe could have shot this morning.
Yeah.
A couple cows and a calf.
Yeah. Calves. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't get a shot at anything this morning. You know, the farming is way behind right now. The crops are still standing. Tough to access any of the fields. All the moose we saw were in crops that were still standing, and, you know, talking to some of the farmers, and rightfully so, you know, they don't want anybody running around their property before they get all their crop off. So we got some good footage of some animals. We still have, you know, another week in this early season and a 2-week late season. This afternoon we're gonna come up with a new game plan. We're gonna move a little further north into the zone. We got a couple spots further north. We'll go try, get some permission, and see if we can't get an animal on the ground. What are you thinking, Paul?
Yeah.
How long are we gonna hold out for?
Well, we got lots of time.
Yeah,
Lots of time.
it'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right, well, stay tuned. We will get back at it. See you in a bit.
Yeah. Keep rolling. My name is Paul Benson. I had the honor of getting a moose tag drawn this year in southern Saskatchewan.
What's going on, Paul?
Oh, we just found a little bull.
Go take a closer look.
Yeah, let's go see what we can find.
Maybe there's something else in there. Let's do it.
We put a lot of miles on boots and a lot of miles on the trucks. I was drawn, I think it was 7 years ago, for a moose tag up in the north. Not right in the forest, but in the forest area, like the Porcupine Plain area. And we spent a lot of days hunting and saw one cow basically on somebody's front yard. And, you know, this season we went out and we saw animals every day. And we saw bulls every day, probably 3 or 4 kind of thing. The population is strong, which is good. It certainly helps us. And we met a lot of people, talked to a lot of farmers, made some good connections, got a lot of permission, and yeah. It was great. We got up close and personal with that very first day. We got, I think it was probably about 30 yards away. And we sat there in the bush for, it seemed like half an hour. Not sure it was close to that, but it seemed like it was half an hour. We watched him and were raking trees and shaking bushes and calling at him, and he knew we were there and he'd watch us. And it was really cool. It was a very, very cool experience. I'd never been that close to a wild animal for that long. And even, I think we were in that same bush, I think it was a couple days later. I'm pretty sure it was the same bluff. And we watched a bull come around the far side, and we got in and we knew he was there, and we watched him come around, and we were watching him, and all of a sudden we heard one behind us. And we could hear them talking to each other, or talking obviously, but communicating to each other, and they knew they were there, and it was just a very, very cool experience to be that close to those animals. And when you get up that close, you realize how big they are and how strong they are. And it's a little scary. They're big animals for sure. when you're drawn in the farmland, that's you don't have miles and miles of bush. You got miles and miles of farmland with some bush in between. And we're knocking on doors and making phone calls and hopefully not bothering any farmers by any means, but definitely had some good conversations and met some really great people that gave us a lot of pointers and a lot of tips and areas to go. And I've been seeing them here. Every time I go spraying, they're down here. I was a little bit out of my comfort zone, and now I would have no qualms whatsoever about knocking on a door. And you just introduce yourself and, hey, my name's Paul, I'm from Regina here and in the area, got a moose tag, wondered if you guys had any land that you wouldn't mind that we hunted on. And you just be yourself to people, be nice, and they'll be nice back. It's just the way it works.
How you doing, Paul?
Good night, you buddy.
Good. That's a tough walk.
Tough walk.
Any animals down there?
Couple tracks, couple whitetail backaways, but not what we're after today.
So the early season came and went. We got a lot of great footage, saw a lot of moose, a lot of cows, a lot of bulls. We saw a bull, probably about the 50-inch bull on opening day that he gave us a slip. It's hard to believe that in the prairies here, the bald prairies, that a 1,000-pound animal will give you a slip, but it did. And we never saw him again. Maybe for a brief minute we saw this moose and that was it. We had another opportunity at about a 40 or mid 40-inch bull, but again it was standing in standing canola field, and we just didn't feel comfortable going through that. We talked to the farmer. Farmer wasn't crazy about it, which is fair enough. So we let that one go. Fast forward to the late season.
Tired yet?
We're good.
Yeah, you're good.
Ready for another day?
Yep.
Rainy out there?
Just snow. Yeah.
Some huge ones out there, so
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
We'll see. Bring my shotgun in case we
Got
see
lots of time.
chickens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, tons of time.
Yeah.
We'd worked hard in the early season to go and find some moose. Another beautiful morning here in southern Saskatchewan. No wind, light snow. Here's to hoping most of the crop is in the bin. And we've seen a couple big ones that we're hoping to kind of catch up to again.
We saw that cow in the morning trying to cross that fence.
Yeah,
That was pretty cool.
Exactly, yeah. And back and forth trying to get through that fence.
There's a little patch of trees with some standing water and a bull that we'd seen there earlier, and I assumed she was trying to catch up with that bull, but couldn't get across that fence. Then we watched her for probably 4 or 5 minutes trying to cross that fence.
Yep.
And let's get her done. Let's go find a moose. All right. Do you have any standards this morning, Paul? Do you have any standards left?
I think they've lowered. Pretty dramatic.
All right. Well, let's go see what we can find.
We had a little bit of snow on the ground, and I told Paul, we got 2 more days. Let's just go seal the deal. So our first morning, we saw another spiker bull, some cows. That at this point in the game, I think Paul was pretty much ready to shoot the first moose that we'd seen. And I think we're gonna shoot this one. It was in a land that had been posted for no hunting. We saw this, got some great footage of a cow. We got some great footage of a spiker bull or a yearling bull. Unfortunately, when we phoned the farmer, to see if we get permission or access to that land. He said no. Again, same reason as before. It was a standing canola field, lots of crop in the field. He didn't want us going through there. Again, this is a tough year. A lot of pressure on the farmers, and I understand it. And I'm sure having hunters coming around, bothering them, worrying about, trying to get access to the land was the last thing on their mind this year. So it became very, very difficult this year to try and get permission in a lot of places.
There's one going out the back.
Anyway, fast forward a few hours, and again, we ended up spotting 5 bulls, and a couple cows in a field about half a mile off a road. We got permission to access this land, and we came up with a game plan.
These bushes behind you here, and there's 4 or 5 bunkered down up there. 2 nice bulls. We'll see if we can get a shot.
It took us about an hour and a half to make a stalk on these moose. Most of the time we couldn't really see them. We were using the topography and the layout of the land to kind of get within range.
There's in the way. Yeah, that big tree is right in the way.
We got within about 400 yards. There was a windrow. We got the camera gear all set up. We got the mics all tuned. Did a mic check, and we were going to push on for that last stalk. Lo and behold, it was a cold day, and this last 400 meters, 500 meters took quite a way. I think when we retraced our route, they were only about half a mile off the road, but we took about 1.5 mile route just to get to these animals. Trying not to be detected. It was, like I say, it was down to the crunch time, and I didn't want to waste any more time or blow any more opportunities. We get to these moose, and there's about a 160-yard shot through some trees, and there's just a little opening through these trees. Initially, Paul didn't quite feel comfortable taking that shot, so we pressed on. We just got outside of these trees, and I was afraid we were going to get busted. We just spent over an hour and a half trying to stalk in. We're within 160 yards. I didn't want to bust at this point, so we backed up to that spot. We set the tripod up, set the camera up, got Paul set up, and he made a beautiful shot. This moose was bedded down, was sleeping actually, so some pretty cool footage of this moose sleeping. And he shot him while he was sleeping. He stood up, and he had to hit him again.
Going left. Again.
We knew he'd hit the one that he was after, and it was pretty cool. Unfortunately, it was when we were walking up to this moose, we lost our mic. The battery packs died in this cold weather. Apparently the battery packs die pretty quick. But nonetheless, it was pretty cool. We walked up to this thing, and immediately I knew it was a 50-plus inch bull. Probably one of the bigger bulls I've seen here as for a prairie land moose, this was an absolute stud. You don't see these every day. Anything over 50 down here in the south is a pretty good bull. I don't even think Paul believed it, what he had just shot. I don't really think he knew what he had done at that point.
Is this real? Awesome experience. It was absolutely fantastic. The adrenaline's pumping, and yeah, such a cool experience.
We loaded this moose up, and we got back to the house. and we got the bobcat, hoisted him up. We measured the antlers at that point, and it touched the scale. It touched the antlers at 55 inches, which is just an absolute stud of a moose. You shoot a 55-inch bull moose here in southern Saskatchewan, you've done well. I've seen those moose in the north, but there's a lot of bush, a lot of cover. They don't get pressured. They don't get. They have time to grow because they can hide. But here in southern Saskatchewan, there's days when we're out here mule deer or whitetail hunting, and you'll see just as many moose as deer. So it's hard to believe that a moose down here would get that big. But this one did, and Paul got him, and it was fantastic. Again, even just telling the story now, I don't even think can explain how exciting that was. His very first moose, you shoot a 55-inch bull.
Ended up very, very happy with how it turned out after a lot of days of hunting and a lot of days pushing. And
There, yep.
yeah, such a cool experience.
Oh yeah, look at that. That one in the shoulder.
Bushnell's Prairie Pursuit is brought to you by Bushnell Canada, Hornady, Black Rock Automation, JB's Sausage Maker Supplies, Ultimate ATV and Off-Road Training, OK Tire Park Street, Regina, Trail Runners Canine Training Center and Labradors, Butcher's Best, Capital Auto Mall, Customize, North Pro Sports, Rev Energy Services, and these fine sponsors.